Hello and welcome to Sports Update. Today we'll be looking at the latest sports news from around the region and beyond. I'm Aiden Richardson.
We'll also look at the professional sports as well as talk to a guest from the Evangel men's basketball team. I'm Emily Conley and this is Sports Update on EUTV. It was a tough weekend for Evangel sports.
Yes, it seems like we've been kind of having a lot of that lately where it seems like one or two teams will excel and have a great week, and then the other teams don't do as great. So another up and down week, but we'll be here to cover it.
Absolutely. Women's basketball traveled up to the Kansas Wesleyan for the Coyote Classic. In their first game against Bethany Swedes, senior Bailey Harmon would score 20 points. Sophomore Connor Patton with 10, and senior Zoe Mullings would put up 7, along with 9 rebounds. On day 2, the Valor went up against the host school, Kansas Wesleyan, in a hard fight. The first half was back and forth play, with each Evangel basket being matched by the Coyotes. In the third quarter, KWU began to build a gap as the Valor struggled to put up points. Junior guard Alexis Roach scored a buzzer-beater layup, keeping the team within a 9-point range. The fourth quarter held hope of a comeback until the Coyotes went on a 12-2 run. The game's final score was 62-78.
The Evangel men and women's cross-country teams ran at the Heart of America Conference meet in Cedar Rapids, Iowa this past Saturday morning. The Evangel men's team ran well and earned 5th place. The Valor were led by Christian Davis, who finished with his best time of the season, 26 minutes, 17 seconds. Davis was followed by Graham Miller, who finished with a time of 26 minutes, 33 seconds. On the women's side of things, the Valor were yet again led by Skylar Adams, who finished with a time of 20 minutes, 23 seconds, and Reagan Smith, who earned a time of 20 minutes, 53 seconds.
Evangel volleyball's team wrapped up their season with 2 of their most contrasting games. Last Tuesday, Valor Volleyball played a lights-out game against ranked number 13 Central Methodist. Senior right side Daisy Eklund led with 13 kills, followed by senior right side Regan Ansley with 12. The team would hit an average of 407 over CMU's 216. The Valor swept CMU in a quick 3 sets. This is the first game the Eagles have lost in 3 since the national tournament last year. Unfortunately, the team's high did not carry through into conference quarterfinals. In a quick trip up to Dubuque, Iowa, the Clark Pride held the block advantage 6-3 and were a wall against the Evangel's offense. In a 3-set loss, Evangel only managed a 177 attacking percentage. Junior setter Sydney Donovan set 19 assists and libero Aaron Russell recorded 20 digs. The Valor looks forward to postseason accolades and the offseason.
The Evangel football team were defeated by the Benedictine Ravens in an absolutely dominating performance this past Saturday afternoon. Benedictine scored a pair of touchdowns within the first 9 minutes of the contest. They then rallied on their stellar defense to control the remainder of the contest. The EU Valor earned just 164 yards of offense for the entire game. Valor had 3 of their kicks blocked, which proved to be detrimental to the momentum of the game. Joey Sylvester led the Valor's defense with 10 stops. The Valor simply looked lost out there as the game ended with the final score of 34-0. This tough loss brings Evangel to a season record of 5-5.
What a weekend. What a weekend for Evangel sports.
I agree. Evangel football has just been such a roller coaster ride. We had a great start to the season, a rough few weeks, then we had a great momentum building win last week, and then here we are again with a 34-0 loss. I'm not going to pretend to know what is in the coach's mind, but he has to be getting frustrated because it seems as no matter what he changes in his game plan, it just doesn't always work out. So I hope that, it'll work out good. There's some extremely talented young men out there, and I know that they have the talent to do well. I just hope they can execute.
Absolutely, and honestly, it seems it's the same story for the volleyball team. They had a standout game last Tuesday against CMU, and going into the postseason even last week, I said, wow, I think that they could have a great run. And I think it was just, I don't know, maybe it was the road trip, but they had a rough game against the Clark Pride. And it wasn't that they played terrible. Clark put up a completely different game than they did the last time they played them. They were blocking out of their minds. So, I mean, it was tough, and I'm sure it was tough for those seniors to walk away like that.
I'm sure. Looking back at that season now that it's, in the rear view, I think it's going to be one of those things, just like you said. It's going to be tough for them to look back on that, but at the same time, they had a good season. They melded well as a team, which obviously is the most important factor of any game, sports game. So I just think, there's things that they can build off of for next season. And just like with them doing that, the men and women's cross country team, yet again, for every race since the beginning, the freshmen on the women have been carrying the torch. And that's very exciting because, we have them for another 3 or 4 years. So it's great to know that we're in good hands on that side. And then women's basketball, tough game, but they're improving so much, and we're going to have the coach on a little bit to talk to him about it. I think the Evangel women's basketball team are going to have a great season. Yeah,
I agree. Coach Beverly's amazing. He had a kid last week right before leaving for that tournament. So they had, the odds were against them, and they went out and played their game. So I think we're going to see things turn up for them for sure.
I agree. I'm very excited to see how it turns out.
Absolutely. Coming up later, we'll be checking on some college games that were played this past weekend.
And in just a few, I'll be here with Preston Beverly, coach of the women's basketball team, who will tell us about the beginning of their season. Stay with us.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Welcome back to Sports Update. Here with us today is Preston Beverly to talk about how the start of their season is looking. Coach, thanks so much for being with us today on Sports Update.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, I have to ask, season just started. You've had a few games under your belt now. What are your thoughts about the season so far?
I think so far we're showing what we're doing in practice, and it's a constant build, a constant grow, and these young ladies are working so hard. So I know that you see that, the teams see that, and we're going to start to rattle off some wins here really soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You just said that you're expecting some wins here soon. So do you think this is going to be a promising season?
I do. I think all the hard work that's being put in this so far, that we're going to really start to see those results.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Coach, why don't you tell us a little bit how you became a coach and then how you came to Evangel?
Oh, boy. Do we have an hour? So really, I guess just the quick story is playing. So went from playing Division I to playing semi-pro, and then my love and my passion has always been around the sport. So got right into coaching. Was fortunate enough to kind of coach at every level. Been doing this for 16 years. Some people are like, wow, you've been doing it for so long. So really have just been able to just stay with the sport and love it, and just to be around people is really where my passion is.
So, Coach, when you do anything for 16 years, I feel like you have to get pretty good at it. So do you think your experience is what has made you such a successful coach over these past few years?
I would hope so. I think obviously, all these tools are God-given. So it's just me now trying to use what he's given me to be able to help others, whether it's through the sport of basketball or really it's just now being able to bring them together.
I know you mentioned earlier that you coached men's basketball for a few years. So what led you to switching over to women's?
Really, it was my mom. So my mother was a Division I head coach for pretty much all my life.
Wow.
So I grew up on the women's side. So when an opportunity had presented itself to be a women's coach and assistant at a Division I institution, I jumped at it because once again, it was something that I had grown up in. It was a space that I obviously had always had a passion for. So when that opportunity arose, I took it and have been, on the women's side ever since.
So, Coach, you mentioned that you just now came to Evangel just a few months back. So what are your thoughts on, first of all, the ladies you're working with, and then just the campus in general?
We have a phenomenal group of young women who are working hard every day. I think Springfield is a phenomenal city, great basketball city. But then Evangel itself, one of the things that drew me and my family here was just, that Christian education and just the values of the institution. It's something that, I met my wife at a Christian institution. So, those values are something that we definitely kind of have throughout our household. But when looking at another institution to work at and to basically stay at, Evangel checked all those boxes.
That's awesome. It's a great place to be.
Yes, it is.
So do you have any injuries? I know we just started it, but injuries, especially in basketball with such a high-paced game, are very likely. Do you have any nagging injuries, any upcoming, that are starting to nag some players?
Well, I don't want to let all of it out, but like you said, it's a long season. Usually you'll have some soft tissue injuries, some bumps, some bruises. But we've got a phenomenal athletic training staff with Nick and David. So they're doing a phenomenal job of being able to have all of our roster players healthy and able to play.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there you have some freshmen and sophomores on your team. So when you look at those younger ladies, do you see yourself having a successful team in a few years? Do you think that they'll be able to carry the team as the juniors and seniors graduate? I
do. I've got a lot of faith in those freshmen and sophomores. When you look at our roster and you look at playing time, they're playing. And, that's invaluable experience for them to be able to be in games, in-game situations, and being able to make some plays. I think right now one of my freshmen, Jazzy Kirby, she had a really big game where in our win, I believe she took 3 charges in our win on the road against John Brown and has come in and hit some shots. Lexi Berry, who's another one of our freshmen, has come in and given us some really good spark off the bench. And then Michaela McVeigh, she's hit some big time threes. And then in that sophomore class, I can't say enough about Connor with just her skill at the guard spot. So we've got a number of young ladies who are having an impact that are in that lower class.
That's awesome to hear. You want those younger ladies to contribute because, as we said, in a few years, it's going to be them that's carrying the team. So it's great to know that we're in good hands for the rest of the season. Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll be reviewing college football and the NFL. Stay tuned.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantori here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
It seemed as though the cards were stacked against the number 2 Cincinnati Bearcats early on as Desmond Ridder was sacked twice in the second quarter and lead rusher Jerome Ford left the field with an injury. Tulsa put up a fight in a close game, rushing over 297 yards, but Steven Anderson fumbled while reaching for the goal line on 4th and goal from 1. Cincinnati's defense created the cushion needed as Tulsa caught up with a final of 28-20. Despite the obstacles they faced, the Bearcats extended their record 9-0. They were ranked number 6 after the first college football rankings, and it's likely that even with this win, they didn't leave a great impression on the playoff committee.
The number 3 ranked team, the Alabama Crimson Tide, took on their rival, Louisiana State University, this past Saturday night. Despite being ranked number 3, Alabama played a sloppy game that almost cost them in the end. The game was evenly matched from the beginning, as the score was tied 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. It was then a pretty dull second quarter until LSU quarterback Max Johnson threw an interception to Jalen Armour Davis. Alabama would score off this turnover, ending the second half at 14-7. This proved to be momentum for Alabama as they woke up and played a much better game in the second half. Alabama would win the contest with a score of 20-14. However, LSU brought their A game that night and just about pulled off a huge upset. Despite a rough first half, Alabama survived LSU and remained atop the SEC West.
Mississippi State and Arkansas competed in a nail-biter matchup Saturday afternoon. The Bulldogs matched Arkansas for every touchdown they scored in an action-packed final quarter. Mississippi scored a touchdown only to be matched by Dominique Johnson, landing another touchdown within the final 21 seconds. It appeared that the Razorbacks were going to lose, but a call for holding against the Bulldogs had gave them the opportunity to regain control. The Bulldogs had the chance to tie up the game with a 40-yard field goal, but missed. Arkansas quarterback, sophomore and first-year starter KJ Jefferson went 19 for 23 with no interceptions in a high-pressure game. With a final score of 31-28, the Razorbacks are bowl eligible for the first time since 2016, and Coach Sam Pittman believes that they deserve a spot in the college football rankings.
Boy, what a huge week in college sports. You know, you said it best right there. This is the first time in 5 years that Arkansas is even eligible for the bowl. That's huge. You know, Arkansas has been stepping up their game a lot. And, you know, we have the latest rankings given to us. Georgia's sitting atop, 9-0. They have a great record, and they have a really good chance of going on to win the whole thing. But as we know, history doesn't always dictate that the number 1 ranked team will win. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And you were talking about Cincinnati as well. They're number 2. Alabama was ranked number 2 in the beginning, but they got bumped down because of some sloppy performances. So what do you think that Alabama has to do in order to try to pull themselves up a little bit? Because they have a great record, but their wins are just not impressive wins.
It's consistency. Even when you go play out a game where you win, but you didn't perform the way you were supposed to, that doesn't look good to the committee. They're not going to rank you where you were just for doing mediocre work. You got to go out there and play, an exceptional game every single time and put everything in practice on that field. It doesn't matter if it's a win necessarily, if you're just barely scraping by against teams that you should be destroying.
I agree. You said it when you were talking about Cincinnati. Despite having a perfect record, the committee's not impressed because they're not delivering like a perfect record team should.
No.
Georgia has been dominating this entire season. Every game they've went into, they've walked out with their heads held high like champions. But Cincinnati and Alabama, they have good records. Cincinnati's 9-0. I believe Alabama's only lost once. But they don't look like dominant teams. They barely scrape by with these wins. And so like you said, when you're trying to impress committee, when you're trying to get the committee on your side, you got to have dominant performances. So I really like Georgia's chances right now.
Absolutely. And, we're looking at Arkansas. I hope that they continue to just put up impressive games so that they can have that slot. Coach Sam Pittman, he believes that they deserve it. So they got to keep it up and earn it.
I agree. The old saying, hard work works hard. Arkansas has been working hard, and I believe it's going to pay off for them.
Absolutely.
The Super Bowl I rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers was an anticipated contest that just simply did not have much action. With Aaron Rodgers out of the game due to COVID-related issues, rookie Jordan Love replaced him as the starting quarterback for the game. It appeared that the Packers could not get their offense to click as they scored only 1 touchdown during the game. However, the Chiefs did not perform much better as they averaged just 3.8 yards per play. This is Patrick Mahomes' lowest average of his career. The Packers kicker Mason Crosby missed 2 field goals, something that would prove to cost the Packers as they lost the contest 13-7. This game will be remembered as a disappointing contest that did not live up to fans' expectations.
It's like we talked about, if you're supposed to be an exceptional team, you got to play an exceptional game.
I agree. You said it best right there. The Packers performed very well considering that they didn't have Aaron Rodgers. They're missing several of their receivers, and they're still holding the Chiefs to just, a 6-point loss. That's very impressive. And, we've said it before, the Chiefs just not the season that Chiefs fans are looking for. They haven't performed like the team that we know they can, and it's just frustrating because we see the talent on that roster. And it just doesn't make sense why they're not clicking.
Yeah, it's really disappointing coming off of 2 amazing seasons. So it doesn't get easier when you see your team play like that at all.
I agree. And you just said it, coming off of 2 incredible seasons, eventually that momentum's going to die down, and it's going to be hard to watch. It's going to be annoying for Chiefs fans, but no team can be that good for that long. So maybe we're just seeing them cool down a little bit. But either way, a great game for Jordan Love, a rookie quarterback starting in a position that Aaron Rodgers usually starts in, and he still did a great job with it. So I'm very impressed with him. I'm glad for the Chiefs that they're finally picking up a few more wins, hopefully get that momentum rolling. And playoffs are coming off soon, so you got to start impressing people. You got to start getting some wins under your belt.
Yeah, you just said, he filled big shoes with Aaron Rodgers, right? We have some athletes here at Evangel who have been filling some big shoes as well. Coming up next, we'll be announcing the Player of the Week. Stay tuned.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Now for this week's Player of the Week. This week we highlight Graham Miller.
Graham Miller, the freshman cross-country runner, finished 20th overall in the Heart of America Conference meet on Saturday. Miller finished the race in 26 minutes and 33 seconds, which is the 12th fastest 8K time in Evangel cross-country history. He has also improved his race times every meet. Miller shaved off nearly 2 minutes of his first time this race since the first race of the season. Congratulations to Graham.
Now at this time, let's take a look at the upcoming games this week in Evangel. The Evangel football team plays Saturday, November 13th at 1 p.m. against Central Methodist at home.
Cross country will be competing at the NAIA National Championships at Fort Vancouver, Washington, Friday, November 19th.
The men's basketball team plays Friday, November 13th at the BBC Classic versus Columbia, Missouri, and Saturday, November 13th at the BBC Classic versus Arkansas Baptist.
Women's basketball will play Friday, November 12th and Saturday, November 13th at the Lonnie Cruz Warrior Classic. They'll also play Monday, November 22nd at University of Science and Pharmacies in St. Louis, Missouri.
Go Evangel Valor!
A lot of great games coming up, and it's really awesome. The cross-country team is going all the way to Vancouver, Washington.
That's a long trip, and I hope it's a successful one. It'd be a shame to go all the way up there and not perform, but we've seen the cross-country teams, both of them have done outstanding this season, so I think it's going to be another great race.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they do. Best of luck to all the teams in their upcoming games. That's all the time we have today for Sports Update. I'm Emily Connolly.
And I'm Aiden Richardson. Be sure to join us next week as we bring you the latest in sports news. This has been Sports Update on EU TV.